Hello, so it's Free Spirit here. So in this video today I'm going to talk about these books and how I came to realise that these books were worth £1,000,000. Now these books are for sale on my website for £1,000,000. That's the price I'm asking for this work. And when I realised that these books were worth £1,000,000, it became purified of a lot of karma and overcame pretty much all the challenges in my life and became purified of a lot of negative karma impinging upon me from the human race that actually had nothing to do with me. And by recognizing how much these books were really worth and they weren't suited for anyone and everyone to read, then I learned my own spiritual lessons and channeled a fresh blueprint into my energy with regard to being a high-fee spiritual mentor. So I basically cut loose of the light worker story. The spiritual teachers have to be either free or cheap, and these days I basically ask a minimum of 50,000 for people to work with me, and for anyone wanting to access these books they have to pay the price of £1,000,000, and for that you get these very high quality books and you get access to me for 1 year as a spiritual mentor. So it was a very interesting journey in recognizing the self-worth and coming out of the stories of spiritual teachers have to be free or cheap. And when I was free or cheap, I just had all manner of trouble, which was basically Blackstone's karma impinging upon me from the human race that actually had nothing to do with me. And by recognizing the true value of these books, then I was able to become healed of all of that trouble. I became a lot stronger and healthier in my energy. I became far more powerful in terms of access in the astral planes, and that power in the body channeled from the astral planes down to here on earth enabled me to basically dispel and purify a lot of interference energy that basically wants only negative things for spiritual teachers. So it's kind of a long story that I ascended out of. If you go to our website, you can read up a bit more about that, like ascending out of light worker karma and a big dispute with an ayahuasca church. But the end result is I won and came above all of those challenges, and today I'm able to sell these books for £1,000,000 without any energy or legal interference in the way of that. And also a few years ago, a company, I'll just say a company, tried to sue me for £1,000,000 with very negative intentions, and pretty much the same day I said these books were worth £1,000,000, that company's intentions failed. They didn't get £1,000,000 off of me. Instead, these books are on my website for £1,000,000, and the company later went out of business, and ultimately the dispute didn't do me any damage as I inherited the white karma stones of the dispute and basically totally came out of that legal persecution energy. Now, this story of legal persecution is something knocking around in an ayahuasca church, also known as the Santa Daime Church, and they're the people that keep having legal persecution. Their stories of the authorities arresting people for ayahuasca and as a result of being part of that church, drinking ayahuasca, I wrote these books, which are here today, but at the same time, doing ayahuasca with this church, I kind of imported their black stones of legal persecution, which is basically about making trouble for people without any just cause. And by recognizing the true value of this work, the ayahuasca church lost their legal status. Ayahuasca became criminalized. The company that tried to sue me for £1 million failed, and basically everyone with negative intentions toward me back in the day had to have those black stones of karma back. So today I'm basically purified of all of that. I've downloaded a fresh blueprint from the source of being an expensive spiritual mentor. I'm not ashamed about that, and I think it's time for people to come out of this story that spiritual masters or teachers just have to be free or cheap, because it doesn't serve them and it doesn't serve the students either. So you can go to our website and read up a lot more about those legal challenges and how it came out of all of that by way of recognizing the worth of these books, and also by way of some other very paranormal experiences that talk of divine intervention by star beings to back me up and help me to ascend out of all those disputes. So that's the story of how I got to how these books are worth £1 million. So now I can just talk about each book in sequence. The first book is like Star Beings book 2012, Meeting the Star Beings and the Healing of Humanity. So back in the day, this book was on Amazon. You could get it just for like £12 or $10, something like that. There might be a couple of used copies knocking about. If you can find one, then you're lucky. And back in the day, I thought that's how much a book should be, like £10 or $12. And that's what I was doing back in the day, selling this first Star Being book for £10 or $12 on Amazon. And that seemed a normal thing to do at the time. But in retrospect, I found that even this book on its own is worth far more than that. Like, someone wrote on Amazon about this book in a review, it's worth many thousands more than what you actually pay. And once someone wrote that, it got me thinking, and I started to think, this is a book about healing from the star beings, how to purify yourself of karma. And if all it's worth is £10 or $12, then that's basically degrading the value of the message. And that's when I started to have these healings back in the day. This book is written from my perspective in 2012. It was me as a light worker back in the day. It is a light worker book. It's how I saw reality in terms of ascension, star beings, when I was a light worker. And when I wrote this book, I had a lot of healing. I drank a lot of ayahuasca at the time. I accessed the higher planes and star beings. And these star beings, they taught me a lot in my astral journeys. I had very deep and profound experiences with them. And as a result of that, I was able to channel that wisdom into these books. And so that's the first book, 2012, Meeting the Star Beings. And the second book is also light worker, is Love on the Shores of a Distant World. It's like a follow-on from the first book. It's more channelings and loving star beings. And the theme of these two books is about astral planes experiences with star beings. And when I left my body and went into other dimensions in ayahuasca journeys, and sometimes without ayahuasca, because when I wrote Love on the Shores of Distant World, I hadn't had ayahuasca for about a year, so I was having the experiences through other spiritual practices not related to ayahuasca. But the basic theme of these books is about the collapse of the human race. Every time I went into the astral planes and had experiences with these star beings, they told me the human race was in trouble, and I had to keep perceiving in my energy the reality of the collapse. I saw like a dying human race, I saw big wars, fires, planetary biosphere collapse, the whole works, and I kept seeing this future reality where millions and millions of human beings would get caught up in a massive collapse scenario, and there would be like a very unpleasant cleansing on the earth as 7-8 billion humans come to a massive karmic crunch. And basically these star beings taught me a lot of wisdom about that and how to heal the fear of that and how to start to step into a higher spiritual reality. So that's those first two books. Then we come to Keys to Immortality. This is about the time I started to come out of being a light worker. So Keys to Immortality is basically about how to ascend, how to not be reborn on the earth, how to take a different timeline, and the different timeline is about not being caught up in the karma of the collapse of the human race. And also the premise of this book is when human beings have learned all their spiritual lessons, they don't have to be a human being anymore, and instead you can live as an alien, an ascended star being on another planet in the universe under far more favourable spiritual conditions, and there isn't any suffering there isn't any war, all of the trouble about biosphere collapse and everything like that goes on here on the earth doesn't exist in these other planets in the universe where you can be ascended to or reborn onto. So basically the future of the human condition being living as a star being in one's energy on another planet, free from the karma of suffering, collapse, death, rebirth, and all the other troubles that afflict the human race. This book talks a bit about why humans have to keep dying and what the options are for purifying the karma of having to keep being reborn and dying on the earth plane. Then we have the fourth book. This is Law of Attraction, 101 Secrets. So this book, 101 Secrets to Manifesting an Amazing and Abundant Life, this is basically about integrating spirituality and money abundance. Now, if you're spiritual and you don't like money, that's a choice that you have, but in terms of mastery, if you want to come to a space of mastery on the spiritual path, you need to master the spiritual lessons and you need to master the earth plane lessons as well. You won't get very far if you don't master money in this dimension. So this book is basically all about teachings that help spiritual people to become far more abundant in their lives, and it's also basically my channel blueprint. The book is blue, and after writing these 101 secrets and going through it later, I realized I channeled for myself a blueprint about how to become a spiritual millionaire, how to balance like spirituality and abundance at the same time, and how to do that in a very healthy and conscious manner. This book is basically all about that, how to be spiritual and abundant at the same time. Now, if people say spiritual masters shouldn't have money, The one argument is very simple. What if a billionaire buys my work for £1 million and then has massive spiritual revelations and then invests like millions or billions into good causes that then have a massive positive and transformative effect on the human race? So people with a lot of money have the power to do good for the human race, and if those wealthy people on the planet are introduced to spiritual wisdom, it can change their lives on a very deep level, and ultimately the good that they can do with all that money is far greater than the good I would ever do by selling these books at mainstream rates. So that was the fourth book. Then we got a big fifth book, a very chunky book. This is the story of my life up to 2015. This is basically how I finished with light worker karma. Now, light worker karma is a very complex topic because people think light worker karma, they think light workers is about spreading love and light, so how can there be karma in it? And this book is basically, as I was writing this, I had a massive wake-up call that if you're a light worker, you do have to take the karma and the black stones of other people, and ultimately it's a very self-degrading path. It will make you have to be reborn on the earth instead of ascending. And also, if you keep taking other people's black stones whilst being a light worker, you're eventually going to get snarled up into some very nasty karmic entanglements. And it's very important to realize if you're a light worker and you're giving out love and light, you're basically giving white stones out. And when you give white stones out, you have to get something back, and what you get is a black stone. So if you're working as a light worker, you're basically giving other people white karma stones, and you're taking black karma stones back. And when you become more aware, you can realize you're actually polluting yourself with black karma stones by being a light worker. So this is something I realized and had to heal myself from. In the depths of being a light worker, I had a lot of legal trouble. I was very sick, like the energy of my body was weak. I had a lot of health challenges. I had a lot of problems with abuse and harassment on the internet from other light workers, and basically without healing that light worker karma, my entire life would have been totally destroyed. So, this is a big wake-up call for conscious and aware spiritual individuals. If you think you want to be a light worker, you want to give that like a second thought, and if you have got a lot of money and you can afford these books, then this fifth book, The Life Story of Me, will basically tell you how I ascended out of light worker karma, and it also gives a very insightful look into the story of my life from the time I was born up to 2015. So that's the life story of me, the life story of free spirits. That's the fifth book. And then we come to the most interesting book of all, Voyager. The Voyager masterpiece, A Gateway to the Stars. Now, when I was writing these Star Beings books, I had unusual experiences that I don't know if many other people have even had. I used to keep astral traveling into the center of the sun, into the center of the other stars in the universe in my astral body. And when I went into the center of these stars in my astral body, I came out of another star. So inside the stars in the universe are like wormholes or portals where people in their astral bodies can change the solar system, and I had many experiences like this. And when I came out of another star in another solar system, there was highly advanced alien races there, and in my astral body I was able to have telepathic communication with them, and I saw their worlds, I saw their alien cities, I saw what their planets looked like, And I had hundreds of these experiences, and all over the universe I saw planets filled with very advanced alien races. They're benevolent, there wasn't war going on in the universe. These aliens are very enlightened, they had higher dimensional light bodies, they're very strong and powerful, they're creating advanced civilizations in peace, in harmony with the energy of the universe. They weren't polluting their planets, there wasn't sickness, there wasn't death, and it's like, wow, I didn't think such a thing could happen to me, but it kept happening to me. And it didn't only happen on ayahuasca, so it's not the case I was just imagining these things in a very powerful ayahuasca journey. I also had these experiences without any ayahuasca at all. I kept being transported or teleported in my astral body to other solar systems filled with very benevolent and advanced aliens. And in my understanding of these experiences, that's what happens to a human being when you're finished with Earth karma. You don't have to come back to this planet, you don't have to keep doing the rounds of birth and death. You can be reincarnated as an advanced alien on another planet in the universe, and the circumstances there are far more favourable. And when I experience this with my astral body, it's like, yes, of course, that's something I want to have. And the truth is, it's extremely difficult for any human being to attain the level of healing required to make this access and have that strong, powerful connection with these advanced aliens. You know, they don't appear to everyone in the astral planes, and the reason why that is, you have to be extremely purified in karma. You have to do 20, 30, 40 years of spiritual work. You have to be as pure as you can. You have to overcome all the pain in your life. You have to transcend all your karma, and you have to go through a purification process so extreme that in truth, not everyone can do it this time round in this life. It might be that very few people can do it. And I say that because when I wrote this book, A Voyager, I was also Brahmacharya for a long time. So Brahmacharya means leave sex away, like mastery of the sexual energy. So there's one thing to drink very strong doses of ayahuasca to try and access the higher planes and meet these star beings. But if you don't have enough energy for those journeys, you can't stay in those higher dimensions for very long, and you need to be able to stay in that altered consciousness for a long enough time in order to channel back and remember what you've actually experienced in the astral planes. And the sexual mastery practice is beyond almost anybody, but if you do that, then this is a far superior boosting force in terms of astral planes access. So Brahmacharya practice, it means you don't have sex and you don't masturbate, and if you're a man, to do this practice for a long time, like months or years, this is extremely difficult, but in truth, that's what the master practice is. If you want to not be reborn on the earth, master Brahmacharya, and then you're going to have a far superior level of access that other people don't have. So that's basically the Voyager book, the last book in the series, book 6. And I think I'll leave it there, because when I wrote this book, many more complex things happened to me in terms of fires and the energy of fire. So that's such a complex story. I'll go into that into another video. So for now, I'll leave it at that. And you can read up about these books, £1 million, my website. You can go to the link in the description, and anyone that's interested in buying these books as rare collector's items, then They are for sale on my website for £1,000,000. You get all these 6 books filled with all of this amazing wisdom, and more importantly, you get a year of my time, so you can talk to me for 1 year pretty much unlimited. So you can read the books, integrate it, and then you can have 1 whole year to talk with me and have mentoring about all of this wisdom, and then you can use some of that wisdom on your spiritual path to understand the experiences I've had and make some progress on your own spiritual path. So that's all in this video. So I'll be talking in the next video soon. Free Spirit out.